Oh, we have chocolate. We've got biscuits. Exciting. Yeah.
Just looking to see the night.
I will not be here. I will be on the train. But Wednesday after, I'm on the train.
Why?
So I may or may not be with you. Oh, you may have. I have the tickets.
Really? This is, so it's next month.
Yes.
Australia.
Yeah.
Next year, so like I just need to
Yeah.
won't be here then. For the next
Because I'm on retreat. I may be there.
I would say do not come.
I'm going to Holy Island. It's my happy place. So,
Well,
yeah.
don't come. You need.
I've not done that.
You need to you can always
And
come.
I may or may not still be waiting for my results. So I might not be in a place that I can. Yeah.
I mean, it's 3 months.
So you might get 5 more people who want to join in.
You want to treat with others then?
Yeah, it's my leadership team from church. So
Okay.
yeah. We do. We've been doing it when we can. This is our second one. It was 18 months since the last one.
Right.
It's like
It's just fallen in an interesting place for you.
yes.
I presume they are very supportive.
They are very, very supportive. Other than I'm now going to go home full-time paid and they'll lose me. So
Yeah.
that's the only
But they see that as a negative.
That's the only
They wouldn't
negative
see
on
that
them.
as a,
Yeah. It's Stephen keeps putting it, yay! in that. Which is fine, I don't know.
It's good that you were supportive.
I
need to be completely alone, but somebody, a friend of mine who lived down the road, to my house, she knew about it. So this will have tonight's chocolate tea drinks. So I got back home and they were there, and I thought, that isn't divine provision. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
It was so good. In fact, I don't know if she did know. She might not have known because I didn't tell people in my local church that I was going through the process.
Right.
Until I'd got she might have known. If anyone had known, she might have known.
Yeah.
Anyway, one way or another, she was probably in that direction. Anyway, how are you feeling? Everything lead up?
I go to, I'm mostly East Thursday. Part of me is because I'm terrified. I had this, so it was, I went to visit St. Hills on Monday and Sunday morning, and so Monday morning at like 4 o'clock in the morning, like, was like, what if I'm doing this and it's a no and then I'm going to have to go back to real life and pretend it's normal. And I was suddenly, that's the first time it's hit me for quite a while, but it might not happen.
It's good to have that.
Yeah.
What will you do?
Carry on what I'm doing. Maybe, but
I saw a really awesome picture where a lady was doing some training and, you know, roads to somewhere.
yeah.
She's actually Catholic, she's not quite Catholic. So it had like road sign with lots of different possible ways to go. And then all of them had God written at the end.
Yeah.
And she was saying, actually, you often feel like Facebook things, like, I mean, in a way, in your situation, you have to get to the point where you really do think this is what you need to, otherwise you're not ready for this.
Yeah.
The process of discernment that you get to, but at the same time, the sort of deep knowledge that whichever road you take, it will lead to because I think waiting it out,
Waiting it out. Hopefully it's not a big flick off the ladder at this point.
feel like a divine time.
Yeah, bit kind of Monty Python.
Yeah. It's better than a big pink foot.
Absolutely, yeah.
Hopefully it won't surprise you what happens.
It's taken me a long time to get to this point. But
It does that where right, now then, let me see who Sarah Shotty, Sarah. She's spiritual Sarah. Spiritual Sarah.
And then, of course, I used to look you were
No, Charlotte. No, Charlotte. Why am I thinking you're you?
I don't know.
It's because you talked about singing. And I made a massive assumption, even though I don't think you're massively into that kind of thing. It makes an ass out of you and me, doesn't it? Only me in this case. Charlotte.
Cheerful Charlotte.
I was going to assume that, but I got to face it. That's why. That's why. Thrown me entirely. And you also went to sit over there originally, and that's where you were sitting in the first session.
Everybody looks different.
Oh, totally. I think we should all go around with palms around our faces. So are you solid speed?
I am.
Great. Sorry to give you a bit of a.
It's okay.
Where are you on here? Where's my list?
It does make such a difference. I've got loads of work to do to my men in real life, or like you work with them for years, and then suddenly you meet them in real life, and it's so nice. Yeah, it is different. Yeah, we've got moving parts and everything.
Yeah, Zoom's.
We are your block.
we were in those last weekend, and he just when he does have a centre and he's got some of his laundry on the radio just me and Paul can go, oh no.
When you're curious, it's slightly strange.
My mum and dad. Yeah, when they're in the crowd, you can tell. They did. Actually, not so much. It's kind of, I feel like it's we'll see. I think he's got his hands at 17.5 and ours is only 18. So the difference between those two guys is the house and stuff.
Definitely.
It's like, we're beginning with S, just try speed. Yeah. I'll leave you with that spot. Yeah.
On the back.
It's not.
Yes, you messaged me. Yes.
Yo and Toby are on their way, but they're late.
Okay.
So
Somewhere. Sorry.
I forgot the place. Except letters.
Great. Good.
This is like 10 of them.
Okay, so Toby and Yo are on their way, but
Yeah, and I'll be waiting for the results from my panel at the same
yeah,
time.
I'm a bit sort of,
First place to be.
you know, if everyone comes, it's a bit quite a big room, isn't it?
There isn't,
You
I
have
may,
to have
I
like
may.
supportive group.
Absolutely.
Having to go to work.
Last time we had a saying that. Oh, I will be in work for a few days this week.
Yeah.
But,
Or am I?
Yeah.
So I've got loads of days off.
to be honest, I'm not sure.
Yeah, because obviously.
I don't know, I'm stuck in my life.
Goes to April, so trying to have a few days to
give you a picture of
I'll just take that one time.
Oh, if you brought me a pizza today.
Is this
Yeah, well, is that just been a whole
You need to speak my language. Serene salad.
Exactly, but
Have we got someone who's-
last time when I watched the video of last time, it made me think, actually,
Yeah.
that's obviously why.
Yeah.
Because when it was group discussions.
So,
Do you have the message about the
microphones.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, he has, yeah, he's been up all night, isn't he, with us?
Yeah.
It's great. Top. So it's like a,
Right.
yeah, I'm putting the waistband on it and then I can work out how much the top to do because it's going to
I
be
think ours.
short-ish.
Given that I've met with-
I
Well,
know what you mean.
Oh, I think it's time I made a start, actually.
without being, yeah, I will.
Might just get my face
Something
up.
yes.
I met up with
It's actually lose weight, but I'm not that confident.
Amanda, do you want to go at the start or the end of your brain?
I think we tried to do another one,
I
but
think
it was just during Christmas and
nice to do at the start. Done it.
Oh, you guys?
And also it will focus us, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Hopefully. I don't know what to do.
yeah, Roland's fine.
All of, what was it, like Friday evenings, and then basically all day.
I thought
You get a lot more.
what the parents were in the festival.
Well, the kids were in it, but not for very long. So they had one song, and I actually went to We didn't have very good ratios.
Yeah, it's nice when it's like.
Our ratios. I think our ratios were technically okay, but
We've done one in person.
Practically, yeah, technically by the people in the building, but not. Something
Yeah. Another minute, a minute.
12 and a 5. Quite a few 8-year-olds. And then they told us there were some really good toys. Quite a few of them who needed someone to play with them. But also we had to just like keep our eye on them all to make sure nobody disappeared.
Yeah.
Did you just go in the kitchen? Yes. Do you know if that boiler was on? I'm just going to fill this up from the boiler. They do it from the hot water jug. I'm gonna. Yeah. Have one.
And that's what water jug saying this
This can I put it straight into my? Put some of it straight into my bottle. It's not too bad.
very much in that little screen.
Just don't look.
Just look away.
You can't see it.
Yeah.
Maybe just waiting for now then.
Yo and
Sally to come back. Sal.
Yo and Toby are on their way.
Yeah, I've heard.
At some point, some or all of those from the urgent congregation will be here. They tend to travel together. So
Okay, we'll wait another minute and then we might make a start and then they can join in.
Did you go to Christmas?
Yes, it's been a long time ago. January's been a long month.
Yeah. Really?
Yesterday, I was like,
Yeah.
surely it's not the end of January.
Because it was quite wet as well, wasn't it? And
think they are
grey.
Yeah, long, dragged up.
Yeah.
Winter maybe.
I don't think I noticed
How much is it through there? Yeah. It's like a month, isn't it? I'm thinking, I don't think I've seen this like this before, but maybe I've just been an observer near the kitchen.
Yeah, when you get through to where the kitchen is, you just straight up. You just go through that and pass away.
Updated it, I think.
Yeah, no, well, the lively. It's been lively at first.
Yeah.
Just like as long as I've known, but it's they painted it and it's put new chair in and little lamps. Yeah, toasters.
Okay, I think we'll make a start if that's okay with you. Is Toby going to record this somehow? I don't know.
Do you want me to go and
Yeah, could you just check if he needs to press anything to record it? Don't know how that works. Or maybe if I need to.
Like that, I think you might have to dial in. Then get.
I'm not really.
It's doing.
It's doing. Oh, great. So are everyone is. Sorry, anyone watching back. Okay, so we'll have some more people joining us, probably at just the wrong moment. But Amanda, would you be up for doing your prayer? Amanda's leading prayers today. Just do that at the start, just to focus us, and then we'll get into the thing, and then welcome them as they come.
Stand up.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Beloved Father, we thank you for this time of coming together and for this sacred space where our hearts and minds are open, where we learn from one another's wisdom, share the stories that shape who we are, and exchange knowledge that lights our way. As we sit side by side on our individual journeys, may each of us feel your gentle presence guiding us, revealing the purpose that calls to us, and showing us the place where we are meant to be. May each of us be a vessel through which your light shines, so that all who encounter us may see within us the radiant light of your Son, Jesus Christ. May we project his love, grace, and peace in every moment of our lives, in our words and deeds, in our patience and kindness, and in our interactions, both great and small. May this love and peace touch every heart we meet, drawing others closer to the grace that sustains us all. And as we go out into our communities, may we carry this blessing within us like a flame that never fades. May we be a prayerful presence in every encounter, bringing comfort to those in need, hope to those who struggle, and love to all whose lives we touch. And may you watch over us, strengthen us, and use us as a bridge of grace between heaven and earth. In the name of our Lord and Saviour, Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Oh,
That was so nice.
It was beautiful. Would you consider sharing it in your? Do you have some kind of place where it can share? I mean, obviously we've got Moodle, but I don't know. Typing it out and sharing it?
Yeah, I can.
Somehow.
Already typed out.
Oh yeah. Well, you can either, if you know how to do it on Moodle, then do it, or through if you've got a WhatsApp or something, or no, not all together, too big a group. So if you send it me on email, I'll put it on Moodle. Thank you. Amazing, isn't it? How healing words can be and powerful. It's worth thinking of, isn't it? Because it's easy to use words carelessly, but perhaps we needn't. Okay, that's a great prayer to start us off with. So today, let's have a look at where we are. So last time we were in person here. Oh, by the way, welcome if you've not been here while I've been tutoring, because you weren't able to make the first one. It's really good to meet you in person without a box around your head, etc. Can you all see the screen, or am I standing right in front of it? So the first couple of sessions, we were looking at what is the mission of God and how can we actually talk about it? What language can we use around mission, Christian mission? And hopefully the sort of areas we started to get into will help inform everything else that you do and give you some words, maybe some good words. Maybe you're working out what the good words are for you to talk about this whole area. So today and the next session on the Wednesday Zoom is climate crisis, justice and the mission of God. And thinking about justice, particularly as maybe part of the mission of God. And that might be a very familiar idea to you, or it might be a completely new idea to you. The idea that justice is part of the mission of God. But that's something we're going to get into today and next time when we meet on Zoom. And then we've got some sessions on evangelism. I'm very excited because I've managed to book an excellent person who is a brilliant evangelist, a very loving evangelist in a very particular context, who's going to come and share their experience with us there. And also you'll have a chance to ask questions of them. So actually a heads up for you now, if you struggle with the area of evangelism, or you're not sure what you think about it, or there's any questions you'd like to ask someone like that who's coming to speak and can get into a good conversation with us, then jot them down and make sure you bring them at the next in-person one, because that will be a really good opportunity to have a conversation with our visiting speaker. And then the final couple of sessions are all about fresh expressions of church, new congregations, new Christian communities that are emerging in the ether. Again, this might be a very familiar thing to you, or it might be like, what you're talking about. Doesn't matter. We'll get into that when we get into that. But for today and the next session, we're looking at this climate crisis, justice and the mission of God. And the reason why I put climate crisis first was in response to the sort of shift, I would say. I don't know if you've noticed this. I think there's been a shift. There was a lot of talk about global warming a long time ago, actually, in the 80s and 90s, which mostly wasn't paid a great deal of attention to it by everybody. But it feels like with the advent of Greta Thunberg and Extinction Rebellion, and it feels to me like a bit of a waking up of people generally. This is actually a big thing. And at some point in the process, I remember listening to someone saying that we need to talk about it as a crisis, because when you have a crisis, people actually do act and change things. But because it's such a big scale thing and we all often feel powerless and how can we possibly change the way we live, we don't talk about it like that, and we just kind of bury our head in the sand. So that's why I've sort of put climate crisis at the start of that. And I'm going to use climate crisis as an example to do with justice today, to think about how the mission of God might take shape in a justice kind of environment. But it's not the only justice issue, as you will well know. And there will be other justice issues that directly impact on you and me in different ways. And so as we're looking at the climate thing, maybe there'll be other things that come to mind for you that you think, well, actually, how does this apply to this whole area or that whole area? In previous years, we had a brilliant couple of women from Africa, and together they put together a bit of a presentation in the sessions to do with Black Lives Matter. And because it was just post-pandemic at the time, and all the stuff with George Floyd had happened. And they did a brilliant job of actually helping us to get to grips with what that is all actually about. So, and obviously directly impacting them all the time in a way that I just couldn't imagine, but wonderful to hear their offering. So if there is something that you are directly impacted by that you would like us to think about in these sessions, then please let me know, because we'll try and weave that in somehow. Okay? Right. Okay, so I just want to do a recap. Can you remember them? You know all those T words? I introduced the 5 marks of mission with what 5 words begin with T? Anyone got a starter for 10? Just
Tend.
Tend. Well done. Right.
Treasure.
Treasure.
Transform.
Transform. Tell. Teach. Brilliant. So what are all these meaning? That's all 5 of them. So tend is what? What does it mean?
It's like pastoral, looking after people.
Pastoral, looking after people. Treasure. What's the gist?
Again, looking at like treasure the earth, treasure the environment.
Treasure the earth, the wider environment, all that kind of thing. Transform. Gist.
Challenge. Poverty. The big things in the world. Transform. Poverty. Climate change.
Right. So transforming unjust big things in the world. Great. What's the other one? Teach. What's that about? Teaching. Teach new believers and perhaps old believers. Teach each other maybe. About what? God, how to follow Jesus, the Christian way, and tell. What's that about? Speaking about
The
good news. The good news, brilliant, all that kind of thing.
Creation. Gift of God.
The gift of God, maybe. The story of God. It's sharing our faith, isn't it? In words, actually, not just in action. Brilliant. Okay, you've done very well. Here we are. There we go. We've done all of that. Great. So we're looking, normally they're listed in the opposite order. So normally you do tell first for evangelism. So a lot of people think if you talk about mission, Christian mission, you're talking about evangelism, and that's it. So if that was your impression when you started this course, you are not alone. There's loads of people who would think that if you're talking about mission, what you're talking about is evangelism. But I just want to challenge that. And the general thing of the whole term for me is about broadening that out and saying, well, that isn't the only thing that God is doing. If you talk about a mission statement, that's what we're all going to work towards and what we're going to do. God's mission statement, I don't think, is only about converting people, I would argue. Other people might disagree, but anyway. So they're listed as tell, teach, tend, transform, and then treasure at the end, which was the most recent one that was added in kind of thing as well. We worked out last time, someone did some research while we were online and found it was added in later. But actually, because of this whole background of realizing how urgent the climate situation is, a few colleagues and I said, why don't we list them the other way around? Because the danger is we never get as far as the treasure one unless we stick it at the top. Whereas actually we do know a lot about evangelism already, so it's a way of trying to reverse them. Anyway, right, so just to remind you, in our stories in the first session, those who weren't here, we made a list of what God's love looked like in our lives, and based on our discussions with each other, we came up with all these words. I was looking at this the other day and thinking, gosh, what if God's love was like this for all of creation, not just for humans? What if God's love was tender for all of creation? What if it was big and massive for all of creation, the whole world and the universe? What if it was confrontational and corrective? What if it was transformative, strong, great, loyal, foreknowing, super, all these things? I suddenly thought, oh, well, if these are characteristics of God's love, then God's love will be the same for all of creation, not just for human beings. I think in most of our stories, we were probably thinking of how we'd experience, because of how I set it up, how we'd experience personally the love of God in our own human lives. But actually, maybe God's love is tailored to the particular creature, not just to the particular person or people. There's a thought. Just saying, it's worth thinking about in relation to this whole thing. So just to begin with and get us into this topic, I'd really like you to talk together for a few minutes, just in your tables. How have you already been involved in the treasure and transform marks of mission? So how have you found yourself, maybe deliberately or maybe through your work situation or your family situation, involved in justice, working for justice, and or working to improve creation and the environment? And this could be in small ways, it doesn't have to be in humongous ways. I'm just interested to know, how have you already found yourselves working to look after creation and or to work for justice in a situation or situations where there's injustice? Have a little buzz about that for 5 minutes around your tables. We've got an eco church, so eco church.
But there's so much being marine biologist, so that's a major thing. Everyone thinks it's a cat, so you know it's important. But he's not just a cat; he's a superhero cat. Encourage the deaf. It's all about just yeah. Where you going? That's just.
Well, that's like brings it to the front of everyone's mind and just reminds everybody.
Are you okay now?
You know,
all the time.
you okay?
I don't feel like I've been
Nobody's ever mentioned.
I don't feel like I'm a leading force out there. I'm just kind of trying to.
It's a good scheme for gardeners.
Okay, I thought you liked us.
I suppose I don't feel like I'm concerned, but I don't think that's right. I don't think it's a passion. Yeah, because I know it was a responsible thing to do.
You tend to close the charity shop. We've only just started using the policy. It was recap for them in their own hand, and then she talked about the different lives without this and asked us to talk about the one that's carrying the one that's looking at justice.
In last week's,
Do you remember last week there was 5 marks of mission?
yeah.
And she's asked us to talk about how we've done something to look after the
How they may present.
About
justice. Yeah, that's justice and justice.
Why you move vegetables that way in
The justice of the.
Yeah, we've been on like Extinction Rebellion march.
Doesn't necessarily.
Always feel like
So.
it's the sort of movement that you sort of feel like you're not doing everything you can unless you get arrested. But then I never wanted to get arrested because of all the children. So yeah, and like we stopped flying, we stopped flying. So I think our brain's a bit black and white, so I'd like to do everything, but then it's too logistically difficult. So then I feel like I'm not doing enough.
Unless you can.
because you can get annoyed about things.
Same with justice. Sometimes
To register your sort of
I've got
decisions.
friend who is a chancellor actually, who is absolutely passionate about justice in Gaza. And she sends emails every week.
I think it's
About 15 pages long, it feels like, about what's going on and what's on, and you should be doing this. And it just makes me feel guilty.
yeah.
Oh, you do, I bet you do that without.
No, it's not your job, but yeah.
But I just don't have passion that she does. Yeah, just give me 2 sentences and then I can deal with that. And give me some bullet points to pray about. So that's lovely, thank you. You know, and then you suggest that to her. But she's very, it's very quite intense sort of person.
Yeah.
So we need people who are like that, don't we? So it's like, I'm trying to.
And it's hard when it feels like it's a situation where that you can't change. So, you know, like, I've emailed my MP, but there's also only so much she can do.
Yeah.
You're the goal.
And if you email your MP about something and they reply back and basically you can tell they don't agree with you, then actually, is there any value in doing what's again?
If you do it every week, how can we do it?
We don't actually. We did used to.
Yeah,
And then it was
treasury.
When I'm not working, I spend it in the since I get something with it, but you know, I was wash out yoga or something. That's you think it's such a small thing, but actually everybody does. It's okay, just round up your conversations.
Green fingers.
Yeah.
Whenever I plan something, others people might not know mine. So, I don't need you to tell me the whole sort of story, particularly not anybody else's story, but anything that you would like to share with the whole room in terms of what do you notice? I mean, hands up if you feel like you actually have been involved in these two in some way or in one of them.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, most people. Some people not sure yet. Maybe everybody thinks they have been. Yeah. And can I invite hands up for anyone for whom this is like a really passionate thing? Right. Yeah. Okay. By this, I mean either justice in general or the climate type application one.
Yeah.
Eco change.
Eco church, brilliant. Okay, so that's interesting. One of the things I've noticed in this term, as I've taught it over the years, is that often what you find is within the room, we've got people who are really passionate about one or other of the marks of mission, and people who are just a bit like, or sounds important, but haven't got that sort of inner propulsion with that particular one, but they have about another one. So one of the things I find heartening, and I want to say to you, is even if you are not massively engaged in all of the 5 marks of mission, it's about trusting that somewhere God has someone who is, I'm not to say that that means that we can just sit back and just say, well, stuff that and leave them to it, because that's not going to bring about the kind of change that we're looking at. And it does require all of us to get some kind of, to listen to those that are really passionate about it and respond in a prayerful and active way. But it's just good to note that sometimes the people with a particular passion, and as you're on a year where some of you will be discerning your vocation in different ways, possibly thinking about what is God inviting me to, what is God calling me to do, is there another route that God is inviting me to take? That's important to attend to as well. Where's your inner motivation sitting regarding this? And you might actually notice that you're quite resistant to getting involved in certain things, certain marks of vision. That's interesting. Try and come at that with curiosity, like Curious Colin over there. He told me that his word to help me remember his name. I've got to use it straight away. Otherwise, yeah. So I think when you feel resistant to a thing, it's interesting if you can manage to become curious about that rather than fearful of it, and maybe ask God, why am I feeling resistant to this? Is it because it's not right in some way, or is it because it's not for me, or what is it? Or is it something I need to actually attend to? Good to ask. Anyone got anything particular thing that they want to share from that exercise? Were you surprised to find that you were already engaged in it, or have been, or not, or anything particular that strikes you from your conversation just now?
I think this one, more than the others, my brain's quite black and white, and I feel like I'm not doing it well enough.
Okay, you feel quite black and white and you're not doing it well enough.
Because, say, for example, I've been on XR marches, but I never got arrested. And I feel like that would have been the best thing to do.
Okay.
And like, I've given up flying, but haven't given up driving.
Right.
That would be really good.
Right.
Whereas the other march submissions, I'm a bit more flexible with my thinking about it.
Okay.
Maybe because it is a crisis.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're convinced that we're in a crisis situation, and so that's making you feel like you're not quite hitting the mark.
Yeah.
Do you think that's how God is viewing your action?
Well, you shouldn't cry this early on in the 3 hours.
Yeah. Given that God, just let me remind myself. Oh, sorry. Given that God is like that.
I think, yeah, God would like us to be doing it all perfectly.
I think God would like us to be doing it all perfectly.
I do. God loves you. He loves you. He cares for you. He looks after you. He parents you. You're doing the best job you can, and he loves you.
And it's unconditional. and why did you not go and get arrested?
Because I've got small children.
You've got small children, so you were looking after them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yes. No, I know it's not. We have to remember these things. We have responsibilities not just for the world, but for our children, or whatever.
Yeah.
And we'll be doing it for our children.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
Yeah.
they still need their mum. Yeah.
But I tell you what, hearing your passion for it and your understanding of the level of what we're faced with is powerful for me. I'm thinking, okay, here's a woman who went on a march where she could have got arrested, even though she's got her kids there. And it's because of her kids, she said, I need to not be arrested. That tells me all I need to know about what's going on here. Do you know what I mean? That's a powerful witness to all of this room, actually. You know, so I suspect that God is rather pleased with you. I'm saying that. And I'm not just saying that. I mean, I think it's the two, isn't it? It's the tension of, we're always limited by the fact we're human. And we're not superhuman. We're never going to be able to do anything. We won't do any of the marks mission as much as we could or as well as we could. But I think the heart is what matters. That's why I put hearts all over everything. Sorry. I think it's probably the heart and the intention that's important. And, you know, that's a powerful story you've just shared. So thank you for sharing it.
It is though, really, because we can't do everything. As you said, the state will always get in the way. And what does getting arrested prove anything?
Well, it does help in some situations. Some people's vocation is to do it. Let's think about like Nelson Mandela, for example. Let's think about what's his name, civil rights, America,
But
Martin
then you
Luther
could-
King.
But if you do that, then he blew people up, so who would now?
That's true. Yeah. Well, you know, you could.
Exactly.
None of these heroes or heroines were perfect. Let's be clear about that. So they all had their limitations, and some of them made huge sacrifices that were, you know, really praised, and we still remember them now. But they also had a darker side to them, all of them, every single one, because we're all human. So, but yeah, so we're getting into that kind of nitty gritty, aren't we? God, every time with the nitty gritty. Okay, that's just to get you thinking about your own involvement in this area of mission. But obviously, when it comes to, I mean, if you've ever voted in an election, you've got involved in the justice one because you took up the power that was given to you to be able to shift things in a direction that you felt honestly was the better direction for things to go in. How, whether that worked or not, depending on who you voted for or whatever and who won, is another question. But that's you getting involved. And actually, sometimes choosing not to actively do things can get involved. So, for example, if you think about the First World War or the Second World War, the conscientious objectors who said, actually, we're not going to. Their hard line was to not fight, which at the time, particularly, was a really hard thing to do. But another way of getting involved in justice in a different way. So, yeah, okay. This will continue as an undertone as we're looking at it because your experience is important and I hope you'll keep drawing it in. Welcome, you two. It's really good to see. That's all right. We got all the messages. Your experience is important. I think it's part of, I'm sure that God will inspire you from your own experience and your own story will have an impact on other people with this. You remember when we did the Lectio Divina in the first session, those that were here, we did a meditative way of reading this famous passage, which is often thought of as being just about evangelism, actually. For God so loved the world that he gave his only son, that everyone who believes in him may not perish but have everlasting life. For God did not send his son into the world to condemn the world, but to save the world through him. When we did that Lectio Divina, I remember Eunice, you said something about the world, that it was about the world. And I thought, wow, that's interesting. Because the world, the phrase the world, which in Greek is cosmos, and it appears repeatedly in that short pair of verses. And cosmos refers to the whole universe, not just to human beings. So often this verse has been used to talk about evangelism, and we have to talk to other human beings about our faith. I'm not saying that that's wrong. But what if God sent his son into the world to save the whole cosmos, not just humankind? That starts to put us in a slightly different place when we start to think about climate change and all that kind of thing. Just saying. So that's an interesting thing to note. It might not change your view, but I'm just saying it's an interesting thing to note. And if we were reading it as it was originally written in the Greek at the time it was originally written, we might have heard it slightly differently from the way that we hear it now. So just to unpick that a bit.
Sorry, did you go? The cosmos meant just the world, the planet, or the whole of the universe?
The whole universe. Cosmos. Think about the word cosmos.
Yeah, that's what it
cosmology.
means now, isn't it?
Yeah, it means the entire universe.
How did it get translated to just world?
Well, I suppose the word world sort of means, has always meant the whole world. If I say the whole world, you might think I meant the whole universe, or you might think I just meant Earth, or you might, I don't know what you think. But culturally speaking, we've tended to think of it as just humankind that God has been saving through the story of Jesus, because Jesus came to Earth as well, very specifically, let's be honest, and took human form. So definitely part of the work was about saving the human race. We're familiar with that idea. But this is taking us into another deeper realm. Yeah. There is this sort of thing, Paul talks about all of creation groans and waits for, I can't remember the end of that quote now. I think it's in 1 Corinthians. Somebody will help me. All creation groans and waits for. It's like the whole of creation is involved in longing. We'll probably come to it shortly, actually. It's probably in my list of passages because it's about all of creation. So that's interesting. I'm just saying we've got a certain set ways of reading certain biblical texts that can blind us to the ways of reading them that might have been more prevalent at the time they were written. It's just an idea. Anyway, speaking of which, I've got a whole list of biblical texts here, which I'd like us to get into, thinking about them. So with all of these texts, how does God relate to creation in the text that you've got? And how should we relate to creation according to the text that you've got, do you think, from that? So, because I don't ever like to make you all do loads of work, because I'm kind like that, I agree in the division of labour. So I'm wondering if I can split, I think pairs would be good for this. The passages I'm going to give you in the main are a bit longer. So you'll need to do a bit of reading first. And those who find reading larger amounts of text easier, I'll need you to show me who you are first, because I'll give you the longer ones. And then some of them are a bit shorter, so like the Psalms and things are a bit shorter. Anyway, so I'll give you a little bit of paper to look at with a pair of you and ask these two questions of the passage that you've got on there, if you would, and then we'll feed them back. And again, we'll learn from everybody else. So with us, minimise the amount of work for every person. Right? Excellent. Right, okay, so who loves reading lots and can read fairly fast? Just stick your hand in the air and I'll give you a hand, okay?
Reading aloud.
No, just reading it actually.
Oh, okay. Oh, you know.
So could you? I don't need you to read them aloud. I just need you to.
Well, I volunteered, but Shara didn't.
Oh, you can. Oh, you can if you want
it's
to.
fine. No,
You can if you want.
to give me time to just.
Right, you have that one. Sorry. Right, anyone else who's good at reading lots? Right.
It's nice.
Yeah. So you want a short one?
About the glasses.
Right, okay. So what have we got here?
We do need to
Right. Can you just look at that one?
Yeah, shall I do? Thank you.
And making choices.
Oh, yeah, thank you. I was going to look at it on my phone, but that's
Right, if you have a look at that one, that would be great. Yeah.
Are we doing discussion? Discussion?
Yeah, discussing your
It is only water I drink it.
I like you. Yeah, just have a read of it first. Okay.
Two, go back to six.
Colossians 1.
If any of you like, right, I'm on my phone. Because you're in a bigger group, if you race through that, have it done, then let me know.
That's me making them.
Colossians 1.
In the beginning, God created the heaven and earth.
Oh, God.
Why are you not going up?
Was it?
That's all right.
Yeah.
You've seen how much of Genesis actually.
Oh, that's all right. 23, right, great.
So it's that bit there. Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, that's okay.
This idea of rushing in the Big Bang.
No, we had a little cry already. A bit.
Do more
It's go well. Yeah, so what can tell you? Oh, it's working. It wouldn't let me.
Yeah.
So, still.
Good 3 hours. Good.
You're American.
I can go to it. I can use this one so that will compare.
Yeah.
One person read. Okay. So that will.
Yeah. The American is very similar to like this.
generally speaking.
It's like, do you want me to read it now? Used image, supremacy of being image
Yeah.
yeah, within heaven and power or rulers or just justify
Yeah, that's
so they can come to one head of the body of the church.
yeah.
Is the beginning from among the dead. So that's everything. That's like how
It's really works to me.
Yeah.
God, things that you can get yeah, and I'm like you as well. So they do
Through
things
you
to
to
show up.
reconcile
Yeah,
himself
yeah.
whether
Yeah.
and he's through his blood to show
Yeah.
once you alienate God, his enemies in our mind. So that keeps now he's reconciled you in Christ's physical body with death and presented the holy insight without blemish.
Yeah.
Continue in your faith.
This chapter 6:30 Christian. So basically, we have taken this way. So we've got stewardship.
It's almost like
It's given and then.
Yeah, it's difficult.
no way
You know, the bit that's so good, well,
Especially because that's the dictionary of words. It's a massive actually. It seems like quite controversial. So if you let it work,
no,
it's stepping off into the unknown. It's massive.
She said, how does God create creation?
We relate creation.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's making slants in the way.
Yeah, I think it's
So,
You know, it's hectic to think about this.
And it's making things like that, made me think about it beginning with the word.
You take it back.
And she's
I think it's down here, look, just worry about tomorrow.
Yeah.
Look at the words that else we when I go on snake, how these tropes it's not that what it's about.
Well, yeah.
It's about don't be overwhelmed.
Yeah.
each and everybody.
Yeah, each.
About what it's now.
Good to see you. Have a seat.
Yeah.
Join anywhere.
Yeah, and the church is massive, isn't it? It's just right.
Good. I mean, we are a bit hard to get.
Yeah.
That's bringing all.
Yeah, and it just be like
Was created
yeah.
by
Yeah. What about these questions? Oh yeah.
all things created by
It's an expression of God.
So yeah, that's nice.
Did you have a description before faith? Then after faith?
Time as well. It's like the woman who will bear children with intense pain and suffering.
Yeah.
That's like my copy is the childbirth of pleasant.
Yeah, it's also like a natural expression.
So it's weird.
And then it's like damage creation, damage
For his pleasure.
It's like the creation of a new life.
It's awful, right?
Pain bit is true, isn't it? Just good.
Yeah, that's recognized.
That's what she said. Not just.
Name the change.
Yeah.
Damage.
That's fascinating.
Then in there, so science control.
19 and 20.
He will be your mastermind.
Very good.
Well, I think
Jen, that's not very good.
like now.
So it's for imagining our vision of God. So
Right. As a young man,
Somewhere,
yeah, that's how people are talking.
God, yeah. Yeah, I think it's and then that image I have pictured in my head, that's what I created
Yeah.
That's
myself.
quite
And then
Yeah.
it's got.
Imagine this
Well, you
guy
get all that
looking
artwork,
down.
if you bring it into
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
So
but again, things that come at me, whether it's good, baby, whatever that kind of translation. And then I started to do probably like up to years ago. So to me, God is actually good. It's not up there. It's big. So we just don't believe it. The people who were interpreting.
Even non-religious
how should we
can
relate
relate
to
to
Like
it.
25 years
He's described as the firstborn into creation. So
into faith
is that
meeting.
what
They know
And I said, Harold, I see you Friday.
in good standard?
We hope so.
Yeah.
But it's not fully done. It's almost the opposite. It's about
Yeah.
and I was like, it's like she was so
The first one, but yeah,
this is all about
and it is, yeah, it is just.
you were in friendship. She just said
this is the response to that person's Yorkshire. If you bring it to
yeah, she's not getting it. So we decided it's
We talked about that too. Yeah, yeah.
I think we
like asking something like this
how
like
should
that.
we
It's not about not gone to Jesus, not responsible for that. And that's sort of what happened in the story, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then you look at all creation and we're this is a responsibility to our actions and words. And again, like how should we relate to creation? It's about what they said there, from dust you remain, into dust you should return.
This is basically a topic that came up a couple of weeks ago. And one of the little girls went to Steve and
Like you,
That's
but yeah, that's it. And then what this? How should we relate to creation?
I think,
Yes.
and what we say, yeah, not worrying about tomorrow for me.
creation.
It's quite pragmatic, isn't it?
Yeah. Just hard to quantify feet.
Should we?
Clear instruction.
So that's hard. That's hard.
Or like,
That's what
And the creation of man, stories, is the second one I like. But just like man, you know,
That's true. Yeah. Can you just give it to you?
I like let
Our conversations to a close, please. Could you just turn that on?
It's green.
Oh, it's green.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
I don't
Maybe
know.
the link. If you turn yours
Oh,
on, yeah.
probably. Magic. Well, that's good. Let me try turning it off again. The magic finger. Okay. Welcome to those joining us in and catching up. Thank you for just getting on with it. That's brilliant. So what I'd like to do is share the knowledge in the room now. So I think we will start at the beginning, which was Genesis 1. So those of you doing Genesis 1 or 2 or 3, you had quite a lot of reading to do. But if you can just give us a summary of what you found in answer to these questions. How does God relate to creation? And how do you think the text is suggesting we could relate to creation? Go on.
Before people say, can they say what the reading was they're talking about?
Yes. So Genesis 1 was you, wasn't it, Toby?
Yeah,
and
we have
Sarah?
Genesis 1.
Okay, so Genesis 1. Do you want to give us the general lowdown of how you thought you related to creation in that, and how you thought maybe we should relate to creation as a result of that? You might. The
Do I
rest
talk
of
to you or do I talk to the room?
Anybody?
Oh. I suppose you're talking to the room, really, aren't you? If you're feeling able to stand up and do that, that's great.
I'll sit up a bit.
And then people can actually have a hot seat.
Hot seat.
It might be good to take a few notes because this is useful learning for us, you know. So if that helps you to concentrate, but don't do it if it stops you from concentrating. So yeah, there you go then, Toby and Sarah.
Obviously, it's opinion, right? Who knows? But the opening chapter of the Bible, the opening chapter of Genesis, is about creation. The whole thing is about creation. So,
Speak up a bit.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Well, how does God relate to creation? So, we were saying God created creation, but that doesn't really make any sense. You can't create creation. So God is creation, perhaps. You know, so that whole first part is God is creation. Relates to it by being it and doing it. So the whole of what we know of the earth came into being in those first 6 days, and that chapter 1 of Genesis is the first 6 days. It goes up to the creation, the first story about the creation of humans. Sarah said it's an interesting thing. It's like an inventory.
Okay.
An inventory.
It's like a step-by-step
guide. Yeah. So here's all the stuff that is the world is made up of, and you list all the plants and the animals and the fish and the sea and the light and the dark, and then finally God makes man and says it's your job to take care of this, because you have dominion over all of this, and your job is to essentially take care of this. So how should we relate to creation? Exactly in the way God told us to is what we came up with.
Yeah.
You know, the instructions are there. It's like a guide, a manual to what we should do. And things go wrong when we start doing things that undermine that request from God, where we don't relate to the earth in a kind or a fair way. We take advantage of it, perhaps. And I think it's an interesting analogy with relationships as well. So, to have a good relationship with another human being, there's two-way, right? It's give and take, and you can't just take from another human being. And yet there are lots of stories of humans just taking from the earth, and I think that goes against God's issue.
Thank you.
Do you want to add anything?
Yeah, no, you've done that perfectly, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if someone wants to say on it. I'm sure.
Yeah, I felt like we've been given a set of responsibilities, like Toby said, in a step-by-step guide.
Right.
So it's our responsibility to take care of each element of that and give back to it, because it was presented to us, it was given to us with grace and with purity. And it's up to us now what we do with that. We've got a set of responsibilities and choices.
Okay. So you're reading that there's responsibility involved in how we relate to creation.
Massively. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But of course you can see, I think, in there it talks about God offering us dominion over everything. You can see why human beings have taken that.
We did talk about that, and it can be taken as you're in charge of everything and you can do what you like. I mean, you can I feel it takes some twisting of the language to do that, and we don't know what the original language is because I don't read Hebrew.
It's worth looking into that because that's something that has been looked into more and more. But we'll come to, in a minute, we'll come to a very early tradition from the church where actually that was already known about, the original language was already looked into. And it doesn't mean monopolizing. It doesn't mean taking dominion over it, as in controlling it and monopolizing it. It does have this feel of managing, having stewardship.
Stewardship was the word we talked about that, and one of us have seen it in a translation rather than dominionship. This was the King James one. I don't know if you've got other Bibles. It might be interesting to see what the word is it knows.
Yeah, we've got to get through everything. So. Yeah, that's to be looked into more, perhaps.
Yeah.
Did you notice that it describes human beings as bearing the image of God? Made in the image of God at the end of that.
We did. We talked about that and how God made the human in his own image, male and female. He made them. So therefore, that implies that God is male and female. God isn't male. You can't make something in an image that you don't have that.
So you talked about God kind of is creation. I mean, you could say God is the creator of that rest of creation. Is that?
God is the creator.
Another way of putting it?
Yeah, God definitely is the creator. I'm saying he, and it sounds weird saying he. God.
Yeah,
there you can say
God is the creator.
Yeah. So if we're made in God's image and God is a creator,
then we are creators.
So then maybe we should be creating more creation in some way. I mean, there's certain ways that we can do that sometimes that are quite specific and clear in having children, for example.
Yeah.
But maybe there are other ways of being creative, like God is creative, maybe bearing that image, which is a very different image from dominating in a negative sense. If you're involved in creating.
It's also quite a different image than just taking care of, because that's just maintenance, isn't it? Which is how I was interpreting it. But I think I like that it's more than just maintaining, it's actually adding to and building on.
Yeah, maybe it's adding to it. Yeah, somehow. Okay,
nice.
Brilliant. Loads of thoughts there. Thank you very much, both of you. Do you want to have anything?
No,
it's a hot seat now.
Brilliant. You've now made that a hot seat. Right, who was doing Genesis 2? You were doing Genesis 2. Do you want to take the hot seat or go from where you are?
I'll just go from where I am.
Okay, make sure you speak nice and clearly so everyone can hear. So this is Genesis 2. What did you get for how does God relate to creation?
Ours was a bit briefer than we just put to creation, and we said that God related to creation with passion.
Okay.
He created humans to tend and care for creation, and he relates to creation as something beautiful and as a resource. So that in that, if we look after creation in the way that he instructs us to do so, it'll provide us with everything we need.
Right. So, and interesting that he created us to look after it, this idea, which is a bit like, when you do some really valuable work and then you've got to retire or you're moving on to another job. If that work's really important to you, you kind of make sure that there's someone else to take it on after you, don't you? That implies a level of importance that God gives to creation, that he created, or God created humans partly to keep tending it. Thank you. That's really useful.
We kind of went on to say, how should we relate to creation? We should all be good stewards, actually, and in caring for creation, we inadvertently care for all of those in it, including animals, including other human beings.
Right.
So he gave it to us, so we should give it to each other.
Okay.
What we do is
right.
Take. Some have, some don't.
Right. So this attitude of giving to others, sharing, and is important. Thank you. That's really useful. Anything else specifically from the passage? There's things about. Because when you said he made humans to help create it, in Genesis 2 it talks about God saw there's no one to till the earth, and then makes humankind to till the earth. Yeah. The other thing that might be interesting to you is, or maybe not, this is where I'm going to do elbow patches. So Adam, actually, the word for land is Adamah, which is the female form of Adam in Hebrew. So, and you know this tradition of God forming humankind, Adam from the dust. That's in Genesis 2, isn't it?
Yeah.
Am I remembering?
Genesis 3.
Or Genesis 3, we haven't come to that yet. So there's a link intrinsically between humankind and the actual physical earth and soil, which actually modern scientists would say, duh. But actually it's quite a new thought to some of us because we don't think of it like that, do we? But there is quite an intrinsic link there, so that's important as well. Thank you.
It does say in Genesis 2 that he formed Adam from the dust of the ground.
Oh, right. Okay. It says that in Genesis 2.
No, it's in 3 where it says to dust you shall return.
Oh, I see. To dust you shall return. Yeah. Right. Okay. I sometimes get mixed up which chapter. And there is a thing as well about naming the creatures, isn't there?
Yes,
That's interesting.
yeah.
So God gives humankind the chance to name the different creatures, which implies a kind of level of
Something
something.
over.
Yeah.
And he says he's not gone to another galaxy to put something somewhere else.
Who says? Who knows?
That's the whole point.
We don't know, do we? Yeah. Brilliant. Okay, that's great. That's Genesis 2. Genesis 3, moving on.
Okay, so Genesis 3 is about Adam and Eve, the snake. So God has created this beautiful world, and then He's created this temptation. And it's not it's a temptation that's nice, like a nice juicy apple, isn't it? It's something that looks really good, and we want to take it. And that's how we thought a little bit about the world.
Yeah.
We can be a bit greedy sometimes and take things. So again, God's created this, but He's put the temptation there, and we're taking from the earth when really we shouldn't do. And then
He sort of brought good and evil into the picture and retribution and suffering. So that I think God's created that for a reason.
Okay. Yeah.
And then there's some horrible bits.
There
aren't
is
there?
some horrible
It
bits.
talks like about how like childbirth will be really painful, and
Which I guess it is.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Let's remember who wrote it.
Yeah, I know we've got to think that. But then about how like a woman, her husband or Adam's going to be the master, and he will always be the
Yeah.
master over
Again,
the woman.
remember who wrote it.
I know, but it's not the God that we think of now, is we? Is it? And it that feels in creating this thing, it's not all nice and beautiful, because there's things like that are not good. So again, it
Yeah.
comes back to, as we said, it's that it's created a world that's not perfect, because we've got these things in it, and we're sort of we are we punished, are we not? Who knows? And then everybody blamed everybody. So Eve blamed the snake, and then Adam blamed Eve, and we like that with the climate. We go, oh well, it's their
The
fault.
Chinese
Or, they're,
people.
they're burning all these fossil fuels. And what difference will it make what I do when there's all these people everywhere? So that's a really strong message as well. And then you've spoken about the dust. From dust, you were made from dust, and to dust you shall return. And we thought, does that mean as a person you're born and you die and you go to dust, or does it mean humankind? You know, we were created from the earth, and ultimately will we all fade away again at some point because of what we're doing and how we're treating the earth?
There's a big emphasis of not taking responsibility
Right.
in Genesis, but then if you bring it to now and the climate crisis, can we really say anybody's taking responsibility for the climate crisis in the world? 3 biggest economies are ignoring it.
Mm.
So nobody's taking responsibility. It's almost like gone full circle.
Mm.
We're sort of focusing on creation and the world now, and it's in danger.
Mm. Yeah.
So
This is a
there's a
repeated
big question.
pattern.
There's a big question.
I do think that God is not going to be surprised to find that we're not taking responsibility,
Yeah.
given that this has been happening since the beginning. But there's some really difficult things in that you started to wrestle with. And actually something I really want to encourage you all to do is to wrestle with scripture rather than just assuming that it all is nice. I think when you hit up against something again that you think, wrestle with it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure if God is big enough, you know, what is this actually getting at? And how much are we reading this text through our eyes now, having had all the history since it was written and told? And who wrote it? Who was speaking it? Why did this get in and other things not? And also, what does it actually mean? So this idea of domination and domineering, which has been taken and run with, particularly in white Western history, actually, is that what the Hebrew was talking about in either Genesis 3 or indeed Genesis 1? I think it's worth delving into that. I'm not entirely sure. But I also think it's worth wrestling with, because you might delve into it and then find actually it still is like that. And then you've got to work out, does it matter who it was written by? Is this the word of God? What do we think about that? Yeah, big issues. Anyway, but I'm going to leave that now for now, but I'm flagging it up and saying, I think a faith-filled approach to scripture is to question it and trust that God will show you things, reveal things to you, and look into them.
I would have to question the bit about the control of the husband, and he will rule over you. I would, just because of the field I work in.
Yeah.
I would have to really question that, because I'm fighting against that.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So
and that's part of the justice.
I'm already questioning that, and that is justice.
That's what you're doing, because partly because you're propelled by the love of God. Maybe.
Exactly.
Yeah. Ironic. Interesting to think what translation you're reading. What happens when you read a different one?
New Living Translation.
Right. So it might be worth looking at a different one.
Yeah.
Seeing how they differ is always a good exercise, because none of these translations in English are anything like the original Hebrew, really, because biblical Hebrew is an ancient language, and actually quite simple. It doesn't have a very big vocabulary. And in the New Testament, I'm a bit of a biblical nerd, so I won't go down this route too much. But in the New Testament, Greek is a more sophisticated language. So it's worth drilling down into subtleties about meanings of words. But with biblical Hebrew, it's quite a simple language. And you can drill down to some extent, and it won't tell you anything because we don't know. Right. It's so ancient. We've still got people still speak Hebrew now, modern Hebrew, which is based on biblical Hebrew, but it's much more sophisticated now, modern Hebrew, than what was in the Bible. So, anyway, there we are. I'll leave you with that little thought. Now then, Psalms. You were doing Psalms, weren't you?
Yeah.
Could you tell us briefly what you made of Psalm 8 and Psalm 19? Psalm 8, first of all. This is a fairly short psalm. It's a really famous one, quite nice. How does God relate to creation in that psalm, do you think?
He said that all the animals he has created, and that we care for all of those, that he created everything and gave it its place.
Right. He created everything and gave it its place.
Yeah.
Thank you. Great. And how should we relate to creation, do you think, from that?
And then we said we thought giving us strength to work, like he talks about those to work through our struggles to help creation and to treat everything as God would.
To treat everything as God would, yeah, and to help with creation. Did it? There's a sort of feeling of awe, isn't there? Is there in Psalm 8? I'm just thinking. When it says, does it say what is humankind or what is man that you are care for him or it?
Yeah, that you should think of as mere humans.
Have
you made us only a little lower than God.
Yeah, so that's interesting. But I think, have you ever had that experience where you stand on top of a mountain or something, or a hill, and it's just jaw-dropping? Yeah. Or you look at the stars at night, and it makes you realise how small you are. Or if you watch one of those programs about science, and it's talking about the whole universe, and it just makes your head explode. That's what this is about to me. Yeah. Kind of, I think creation actually draws us, thinking about how we should relate to creation, I think creation draws us to our knees sometimes. And that's our place with it sometimes. Do you get what I mean? Bit of a subtle thing. So there's an invitation maybe for us to engage like that with creation. And when we start to think about climate crisis and all this sort of working for justice, it's easy to get drawn straight into the heart of we're not doing enough, we've got to take more action, all that sort of thing. But the first action we could take is actually attend to our relationship with the natural world. Because when you actually love someone, you do actually nurture them. And when you actually allow that two-way relationship, it can change you completely. Same as what I was saying, if you do a really good piece of work and then you've got to move on from it, you make sure there's someone good to take it on for you. If you have children, you really want them to be good in the world, don't you? You want, with everything, that they'll have a good setup somehow. So you do whatever you can do to try and help that. Same with creation. If I spend time in awe, I actually do this. I know this is a bit bonkers, but I just will sit there with a blade of grass. And sometimes you can see a creature that is so small you've never ever noticed it before, with the most extraordinary, intricate patterns on it. And there's something about the experience of that reminds me of this psalm. And that it makes me want to care for that, for the natural world, because, so where I might not have the motivation otherwise, it changes my direction, influence for that. Sorry, that's me waxing lyrical. You also had, did you have Psalm 19 as well? What did you make of that?
We sort of have this thing goes unheard, even if you don't say it explicitly, God will still hear it. It's like prayer in some ways, we'll hear it. It's all to be joyful about, and about what it's the joy that he gave us, and we should be joyful and enjoy what he gave us. And knowledge is unique to each person. It's not going to be the same from everybody, and so it means that you're each in a different mission, and we've each got a different idea of how we should look after God's creation.
Okay, yeah, some good ideas there. Also, there's a thing about the heavens are telling the glory of God, a bit like what I was just saying, really. It's the other way around, isn't it? Again, yes, there are things we could do, but it's open your eyes, isn't it? In terms of how we relate to creation, there's all these things we can do which might cost us something, but one of the things we could do which would really benefit us is just look at it, engage with it, listen to it. Does it say that all the creation is telling the glory of God? Mm-hmm. All around, all the time. This is something my parents never went to church or believed in God or anything like that, but my dad is soft with this. He loves walking out in countryside, and he gets it. It says something like that. Does it say that?
It's the very first verse.
Is it? The heavens are telling the glory of God, And so it means that, when you get to the evangelism of the 5 months of mission, all of creation is doing that work all the time. Imagine that. The whole of creation is telling the glory of God all over the world, all of the time.
In terms of nature and getting out and looking at it, don't you think when we were going through the pandemic, that had a big change for everybody? Because we were literally locked in our houses, and we had an hour to go out and enjoy the world. And I think that has changed everybody, and you still now see, from my point of view, I feel as though there are still lots and lots of people who find half an hour, an hour to go for a walk, even now, when we're 5, 6 years on from the pandemic. So I think that's changed a lot of people in terms of the value of being outside.
Yeah. I wish it had changed me that much. Because actually, ironically, I was in a much better place. Because of the pandemic, I was fortunate. Obviously, loads of people were in a terrible place because of the pandemic. But because it made me go outside, and it was a really good practice to go out for a walk every day. But I've slipped completely from that. Yeah. But this is a reminder to me to get back to it. It's good for the soul. Thank you. That's great. Okay, brilliant. Well done, you two. So next one, I'm wondering, could the group at the back there, could you give us a little bit about, you had Luke, didn't you? The Palm Sunday, a little bit about that, and maybe a little bit about Mark as well, if you got round to it. But tell me about Luke first of all. That was something to do with Palm Sunday, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
First point we related was the reverence of the Creator. So, like we've been going back again to the Genesis, to talking about Adam, Adam, them, and so did not go there, but yeah, so that's all related. Isn't it? Like one school of thought is that when you talk about the word alcohol, the dung means blood. So he, when the breath in the nostrils, God's breath is not in the nostrils of the man. Some school of thought say it was a blood because blood got the life in it.
Okay.
So we are related to blood. Let's go back to say that.
Okay.
That's where the now going to scientific reasons of DNA and stuff. So it's in us to praise him.
Yeah.
Because it's our creator.
Yeah.
So that reverence came out when they saw the glory of the Son of Man. Because they were waiting for a Messiah.
Yes. So when he comes riding, so Jesus comes riding into Jerusalem, they're waiting for a king, a Messiah. They recognize his glory.
He was in front of them.
Yeah.
And I think that's how God related himself to creation. On the blood stuff, the image and likeness. That's what we all are studying about. And that is reflected there because God made us for his worship. And he came down to deliver us. And the way that scene is on a Palm Sunday, that he's the human beings, the humankind is praising him. And we look at the intensity of the praise because again, the first law also says that praise him with all your heart, all soul, body, and all that was there. And they were doing that. When the Pharisees walking in and saying that, oh, you shouldn't be doing that. But
so they tried to silence them. Right. And then what did Jesus say?
Oh, Jesus is saying, if they will stop today, the stones will.
If they stop praising me, the stones will cry out. So that's the thing. So this idea from the Psalms about the whole of creation proclaims the glory of God. Jesus is saying, you can silence the humans, but the stones will cry out still.
The other thought we were sharing about, that's a good thought that you talked about, that the creation will still praise me.
Yeah.
You said. But then we were talking about that maybe at the point the praise was so high.
Yes.
That Jesus himself was like, like that's what I created the human.
And in the context of that passage, that is the most important thing.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of I'm using it just as one of many illustrations of how Jesus viewed creation, and he heard the voice of the stones. He knew that whole of creation was praising. Yeah, but that's really helpful. Thank you. Can you talk a bit about Mark?
If we read John Gospel, we see when we accept the Jesus and the Jesus son and daughters.
Yes, absolutely.
We accept Jesus via the belong to his family.
Can you talk a bit about Mark? Maybe someone else from your group talk a bit about Mark, that story of the calming of the storm. Did you get to that, or did you not get to that?
We were reading when you said that.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Okay,
so it's again related to creation. How should we relate to creation and things like that?
So Jesus calms the storm, doesn't he? He just says a word, "Be still," and then it is actually still. So that's interesting. Obviously has huge authority over creation in a way that most of us, well, none of us would, I don't think.
For us, it's the non-living things. We don't think that they could obey. Because we're the living human beings, and then we got intellect in us. How could water, how could a stone chemist into it?
Yeah.
That's sort of the things we were talking about that really does matter.
Yeah. And how we should relate to that then, because interestingly, when he does that, he calms the storm just like that. He was asleep. And they wake him up going, don't you care? We're all going to die. He calms the storm instantly. And then he says, why were you so afraid? And they must be like, what? We were afraid because people have died in this kind of storm. But so Jesus seems to be inviting a different kind of way of relating to the rest of the natural world, maybe, or inviting us to trust him so much to pray and say, help with this, and trust him to intervene in some way. I don't know. That's another thing to just think about. Think about what our relationship with creation could be there. I just want to go on.
That's quite hard to grasp as well if you think about these
Yes.
natural disasters that happen.
Oh,
because
totally.
Why does God not just say not?
Intervene, yes.
And that's a really difficult message
It
to sort
is.
of read that and then think,
Yeah. And actually, I heard someone speaking about it, saying actually the word in Greek is about why are you so habitually afraid? That's the meaning of it. Is this a present continuous? Why are you always afraid about these things? So it implies that he's sort of saying to them, you can trust me with all different things, not just about natural disaster or storms, but about things that feel out of your control as one human being. Just questioning, do you need to be afraid of those, or could you trust? Which could be applicable to lots of different things in life. But again, if you've lived through actual floods and devastation, that's probably not the story you're going to tell people. Although maybe it is. And maybe there are people who've lived through that who have found something in that passage. I don't know. We'd have to see. I think we've got another couple of groups to feedback before we stop coffee. So what have we got here? Somebody's doing, Matthew 6? Someone, yeah? Go for it. Matthew 6, 25 to 34, this one. Consider the lilies.
Oh yeah, consider the lilies.
So how does God relate to creation in it, and how should we relate to creation, do you think?
So sometimes you write things down and you think, how was that to do with the text? But anyway, what we wrote down was that creation is kind of crossed over with when Toby was saying creation is God, and we were saying creation is an expression of God, a bit like a piece of music is an expression of the soul of the composer kind of thing. You kind of know God through creation.
Right.
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that if we are unkind to the planet, that's like hurting God.
Okay.
And that sometimes we have these conversations and we forget that we are part of creation as well. And so this is kind of crossing over into what Jen is going to talk about, which is how we should relate to creation. We're part of the creation that God cares for. And I wrote down ice dancers, and that was because I was thinking about like a piece of music. I saw the ice dancers, the international ice dancers, and a piece of music was playing, and the really good ones were totally in the music, like the humans were totally in the music, and that's a bit like humans. If we got it right with creation, because we're in creation anyway, but then we've got this kind of caring role where we're co-creating. It would be like those ice dancers, we'd be so tuned in to creation and the needs of creation, the planet, that it would just be beautiful. And you see bits of that already, like really good gardeners, it's not just about the flowers, it's about the food and it's about the creatures. And there's this like, what's that word where synergy, like everything is like, it's like all making music together. That's the aim, isn't it? That, Trump wakes up in the morning and so does Putin, and they go, oh my God, we should be doing it like this, guys. And it all comes together in this beautiful harmony. That would be amazing, isn't it? Jen wanted to talk about
how we relate. Because it ends with like a really nice pragmatic message that we were saying, if someone gave you this advice today, so do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will bring worries of its own. Today's trouble is enough for today. That's like good advice for today, and Jesus said it 2,000 years ago. That's crazy.
Because we started our conversation having a bit of a kind of climate crisis upset, and that's because you can see the apocalypse unfolding. But actually, here we are today. We can't deal with all those. This could be what's happening now. Here we are in today. What are we, actual people, going to do in this today? So I was saying, do you want to join the climate choir? And then we can all shut our curtains when it gets dark. There are things we can do today. Did that make any sense at all?
Yeah. Maybe. Yeah. And also the invitation to consider the lilies, Jesus is saying, is inviting us to do that thing of spending time, actually consider it. Maybe let's just take it literally.
Look at the flowers.
Spend some time looking at the flowers and thinking to yourself, well, they don't labour or spin to make lots of complicated clothes. They don't earn, like they don't work 48 hours a day in order to have enough money to go and buy the next fashion thing that they want to get. And yet, not even Solomon in all his splendor was clothed like one of these. What a beautiful, poetic thing. You know, how great to think that. And look at the birds of the air. They don't, waste away, struggling. And in our current context, where there's a lot of thing about being productive and producing more with less and efficiency, some people in some realms of work can feel completely run into the ground by that. But Jesus' invitation seems to be, actually, the birds don't worry about working that hard in order to think. We do live in this world where, in order to pay the cost of living, people are working ridiculous hours and, ground into the ground. But Jesus says, actually, that's not needed. And it's God who provides for the birds and the flowers. So how can we, I'm left with a difficult question. How can I trust in the provision of God while also taking appropriate responsibility for my own needs and the needs of my family and what have you? What does that actually look like? And that's a whole other thing. But the idea that you can trust and that God made all of this anyway. So, it was a very empowering moment when I've been before to a powerful person and said to them, I don't need any money. Well, I do need money, but I'm not going to take any money. And they were like, well, what, have you come into some inherited money or something? And I said, no. But I figure we worship the author of all creation, right? So what is needed, hopefully, will be provided. I trust that. What does it mean to say that in our particular situations? And I realise I have a heck of a lot of privilege, so I think it's easier for me to say that and to trust and to rely on it. It is still hard though, and there's a sense that what is needed will be provided, but you're not going to live in the lap of luxury kind of thing necessarily. But anyway,
that is the big message is about trust, and it is quite hard, isn't it?
It is hard to trust, and in some situations it's very hard to trust. But also, I like what you said about how it applies to us as well, that God cares for us as part of the creation, as a creator. It cares for their creation. And thinking back to what you were saying, Steve, about your work, if you yourself, for example, let's just say, are a victim of domestic violence or something like that, the main thing is that God is caring about you and in that situation. And it's about finding others that will help you to exit stage left or do what you need to do to protect yourself, because you are important as part of creation. So all of these things are a bit complex, aren't they, when you get into them? Anyway, stop talking, Dory. Last one. What were you looking at? Remind me. Was it Colossians 1? Yes, brilliant. Yeah. Tell us about Colossians 1. It's verses 15 to 23. It's a readable thing.
Yeah.
Does it blow your mind?
We talked about, well, I liked how it reminded me of John chapter 1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, etc. Talks about that creation was created by Christ and for Christ, and so that means that it's precious. And talks about him reconciling all things to himself, so not just human beings, but the whole of creation is to be made new, I suppose, ultimately. And that Jesus is the firstborn in the family, so we're part of that family alongside him, and part of that role in reconciling and bringing all things together. And then it talks about the gospel as being proclaimed to every creature under heaven. And Sal was saying that there was a little girl in our church who went home after church 2 weeks ago and preached the gospel to her dog, which had followed up on a verse, something like this, that had been
we're doing Romans 8 at the moment, and this is mirrored in that as well. And, she went home and preached the gospel to her dog.
Oh, bless Fido the dog.
Yeah, Willow knows everything she needs to know. Yeah.
In addition to what she was saying, and also in creation, God, like as we said in Genesis, its creation was there. In creation, God created both visible and invisible. There's some who can see, and some who cannot also or see. And also, at the last verse, it was saying about Paul claiming to be a minister, believing on that faith that Jesus was died with the blood, we are reconciled with God. I think bringing it together shows the love God had for the creation, sacrificing his only son. When you come to John 3:16, whosoever believes in me. So Paul is telling the Colossians that he has accepted Christ, and in that faith, he's as an apostle or an ambassador of Christ. He's also going along as a created human being, as a creature from God's love. And if God didn't love us, he cannot sacrifice his firstborn to die for the whole world. It's also a part of love. God also sacrificed for that creation.
So for us to echo that pattern of being ready to sacrifice like Jesus sacrificed, we sacrifice for the rest of creation. Is that what you're saying at the end there?
Yeah.
To actually love and to be prepared that it will cost us something to love the rest of creation. But this is us following in the way of Jesus, actually. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, really good. It's quite an inspiring passage, actually, if you read it. Colossians 1:15. It's a bit wordy and a bit sort of theoretical in a way, but it's quite a good hymn of praise to kind of get into a little bit, just to remind you. And it's quite cosmic. It is talking about Christ being a cosmic beyond, and this thing about invisible creatures and visible creatures is curious. I mean, interesting. There are definitely things that we don't even know, we can't see, but that beings that are part of creation that are there. That's very good. Did you do another one as well, or did I? No, that was it. Great. Brilliant. This is really good quality work, and you have definitely earned a coffee break. So have a coffee break. Let's come back together in about 12 minutes or so. 10 to. Let's come back together.
Yes.
And could I have all your little bits of paper? Don't lose them. Oh.